Hi everyone, this is Editing Kim, hopping on here before podcast Kim and Danielle. I just want to give a little disclaimer about the topic of today's podcast discussion, which is the Drake Bell trial, as well as the situation with himself and involving himself with a minor. It's very triggering for some people, so I want to put this out there before we discuss the entire trial and the situation around it. If you guys don't want to listen to this episode, I completely understand, and you can listen to previous episodes or wait till next week. We have a lot lighter topic, but this was something that bothered the both of us, so we thought it was very important to talk about. Otherwise, we talk about this and we just talk about the justice system as a whole. It was a very good conversation. So putting that out there, and yeah, we'll get right into it.
All right, and welcome everyone back to an episode of the M Sister Studios podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Danielle Minetti, and I'm here along with my sister, partner, everything in life, Kimberly Minetti. Say hi.
In life.
You're stuck. We're stuck.
That's
for
not my role, but okay. Hi.
Incorrect title. That's what just came to mind, but whatever.
Business partner
in life.
Ew. Is this a good time to write on you as the business partner then?
Why?
Never mind, I won't get into it.
No, you already mentioned it, so now you have to say it.
No, I'm good.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Ugh. Do you want me to explain why I'm standing?
Yeah, explain for me.
I don't know why. I feel like every time there's just something new. So basically, I took a nap before this and was abruptly woken up by my mother, and I had no time to set up, and I really don't want to sit on the floor. So that's why I'm up here.
Oh, okay.
Up here as in like you're on my dresser. Standing up, which I think might be better just for my bottom.
I mean, it definitely would be. And when you say abruptly woken up,
yes, I mean abruptly.
In like, good old mom fashion.
And then she can literally, the moment I wake up, she asks me 5 billion questions as if I'm coherent.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's mom for you.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, I'm gonna say this because I think we're gonna talk about it this podcast. I did not watch the latest episode of what we're going to talk about.
Episode 6?
Yes.
I did.
Okay. But I watched all the other ones. It's just my boss came in.
It doesn't matter. My points about it are
valid for general. Okay. Okay. I just wanted to put it out there because my boss came during lunchtime, which I told my Kim that I was going to watch it during lunchtime. And then I didn't because my boss came, and then I got busy with work, and yeah, that's life. So
you could have watched it on your phone on the way home, but that's okay.
I kind of don't want to like do distractive driving. I think that's kind of illegal.
You just listen to it. I literally, maybe I shouldn't confess this. Never mind.
Do not say anything over the internet that may be held against you.
Well, I don't do it anymore. Similar to how I use my GPS, there was a moment in time where I was really addicted to Vampire Diaries, and I would use Vampire Diaries on Netflix on my phone, similar to how I would use my GPS on my phone. That's all I'm saying. Use your imagination.
Use your imagination at will, everybody.
Yeah. Also, if I'm swaying, I'm standing up.
I think they gathered Kim, when you told them.
Well, no, because literally, like, I was swaying like last time because like my butt hurt. And I just like I have to move all the time. So I want to talk about your tattoo. How's your tattoo?
It's pretty good. So let's see. So it has a little bit of peeling left to do. But overall it's getting to the point where it's kind of dry, which is what I've experienced with flaky and dry, which is what I've experienced with all my tattoos. And once it gets past the dryness, then it's good. I don't know if you're the same way, but once it's past the dryness phase, it's good. unless like all your skin is dry, then that's different. But the bumps I had are like healing, scabbing up, and going away.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't remember like the recovery period besides me scratching so much. Like it was really itchy. We already talked about this, but it was really itching my last one.
Yeah, like I've been really good with this one, except for last night. Literally in the middle of the night, it was so bad. I like took my back of my hands and went like
Yeah,
on my leg. But I just want to. It's so bad that it took this tattoo for me to do it, but I want to take like super more care of my tattoos now. I should have done it from the beginning, but 18-year-old me with my little Hakuna Matata tattoo did not think anything of it.
I love how we came to visit you and then you left. You made us leave in the middle for you to go with me too. Our parents were very happy about that.
Yeah.
Mind you, they had no idea. I did have a segment that we were gonna do, but I feel like we have to talk about something else that you wanted to talk about today.
Oh, what I was talking about at lunch today.
And I think that explains your emotions about the situation.
That explains perfectly about what I think about the situation.
Yeah.
In perfect detail.
Well, you were watching his sentencing today.
I was. Yeah. So, yeah. So for those of you that may not know, and Kim can add to this because you talked about it on your last
I know
podcast. Yeah. So you definitely probably know more about the beginning part of it than I do, but I know the sentencing part of it right now. But Drake Bell was charged with multiple different counts of crimes that were against a single individual, a female, when she was between the ages of 15 to 17.
Yeah, she was underage.
Yep, underage. And how it came about, and they talked about it today when I was watching the video and reading the article. The way that he met this girl, I don't know her name. I don't think they are explicitly like throwing it out there either, which is good.
Yeah.
You know, to protect her. They said that the way that he met this individual was because he was friends with the individual's aunt. And so the aunt, since she knew that her niece was a big fan of Drake Bell's, I mean, who wasn't around like
because she like grew up with him.
Yeah, she grew up with him. Yeah, she grew up with him. She was saying how you know, I idolized him, you know, I was a huge fan, and the fact that my aunt knew him, that I was able to meet him, and she met him when she was like 11. And so she met him when she was like 11, and then when she got a little bit older, stuff started to change in terms of their conversating and when they met and stuff, and all the inappropriate conversations started when she was around 15. And then from 15 to 17, their interactions or conversations were inappropriate, or they were really bad and explicit. Yep. And it was non-consensual.
I agree. Boomy. Was that Boomy?
Yeah, it's both of them.
Excuse me. Children.
Anyways, regardless of them, so explicit, non-consensual stuff was happening, conversations, actions, and whatever. And I think the reason why it took so long was, even though the crimes happened in the US, the girl is from Canada.
Oh, and he was in Mexico.
Or he's living in Mexico. Like, I don't really know, but like, yeah. So
that had anything to do with anything.
That is what I know about like the beginning from what I've read today. And then I watched on the article that I read, not the one I sent you, but I watched both like kind of a little gist of what he said in his testimony. And then I watched her full statement that she gave regarding all the incidents and stuff. And Drake Bell,
he pleaded guilty.
He pleaded guilty, but only to 2 charges of what I believe, and it doesn't say either 2 of more charges or only 2 charges when there should have been more charges, if that makes sense, based on the information she was saying.
He pleaded guilty to 2 charges, and we don't know how many charges there actually are, but there should have been more, but we don't know that there's more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me see if I can pull it up. All right. So the first one he pleaded guilty to was attempted.
I have a question.
Sure.
Before you get into it, what's the timeline between like them talking and then like right now?
So, like talking like in a pro or like
yes.
So she's 19 right now, so 4 years.
Okay.
Or 5 years, whatever. Yeah. But yeah,
because it was like one of those things that was like that was just on the news and we're like, what? And so I was just curious to see how, like, if he's doing it right now, like he did it before. Yeah. So it's still wrong. I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's 4 years. It sounds about right about how long it took.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, it also sounds about right about how long the judicial system took for it to like bring the case forward, especially with her being an international person and like her having to file and everything. Okay. Oh, I can't do that.
Do you want me to pull it up?
No. Kevin messaged me something, but anyways, so here are the 2 charges he pleaded guilty to. First was attempted child endangerment.
Yes, I knew that.
And then the second was the disseminating matter harmful to juveniles.
What does that mean?
So that what I'm understanding is he disseminating, so like spreading information or doing something, giving something to a minor that could be harmful to them.
Okay.
Is from my understanding.
Like inappropriate pictures or like
Yeah. So that's from what I gathered for the charges specifically. However, after watching the girl's 15-minute long statement,
good for her.
He definitely should have had more charges against him based on what she was saying. What she was saying. Yep.
Go
hold on. Here's the kicker. Okay. So.
Oh, no, I don't want a kicker.
Here's the kicker. Okay. Taking into account all that she said, and then, just how effective she was, and we can go into it, effective she was by what had happened. And the way that the defense attorney made her seem to be like this horrible person, even though she's 15 and can't just like, she doesn't even know who she is as 15.
She's a kid. Yeah. That's a whole other thing. He
is, according to my news source, the article I read, which I'm not going to say it's true until I see whatever actually happens with him. Allegedly. Yes. He only got 2 years of probation. And maybe charged or not charged, maybe now be after those 2 years have the official title of sexual offender.
There's so much to like unpack about all of this. First of all, it's very sad.
Yeah, it is very sad.
And similar to this young lady, how she was a fan of his. So we talk about it, we watch the show and stuff. And I think to me, I feel like there's just so many aspects at play. Like the first thing is like she was a fan of his, and there's like kind of like an abuse of power to that. I believe. Secondly, she was a child.
Yeah.
And I can't think. That's just crazy. That's absolutely crazy. So I don't know. I didn't even think about the registry at all. I honestly, I was like, wow, I didn't even think about that. I can't. You continue to talk because I can't think right now.
Okay, so here's how I kind of broke down what I heard and how I reacted, but I also kind of know how probably the judicial system played a little bit, just because for those of you that may not know, I was in law enforcement for a few years, so I kind of know stuff, studied it for almost a decade, so I kind of know what's going on just a little bit. No, I'm not an expert though, because I left that field behind. But so here's how I break it down. Okay, first off, here's the reason as to why I think he got so little of a sentencing, but here's the reason why. So not potentially, he's not just that, but people, when they sentence someone to prison time or probation or whatever it is, they take into account, is this their first offense? Okay, so they take into account that. They may take into account his like living situation. So from my understanding, he's not with his wife anymore and he has a child. So
he does.
I think what I saw from his Instagram today, there was a baby on his lap and he's like, just jamming with my kid. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, that was a whole other thing. Like he was like posting on Instagram, like after he pleaded guilty, like nothing happened. And we're like, hello.
Yeah. Like I saw his post today.
Children at all. Frankly.
I saw his post today and it said like he posted it like a few hours ago from when I saw it. I'm like, oh really? You can do this on probation?
That's what I was gonna say. He can't do that.
It depends. It just depends. So a number of offenses, if it's his first one or not, his family dynamic, the one that they should have taken into consideration is his
Why does the family dynamic come into play? Okay,
so imagine if you are a family, right, and your husband is the breadwinner, and for whatever reason your husband gets arrested. Okay.
Yes.
And he's get taken off to prison. Now, what are you gonna do? You're a single mom. You're whatever it is in prison. Now you gotta get a job.
But what if my husband murdered someone? Why are we giving accommodations to people who have committed like those crimes?
Well, so for those type of crimes, and I'm not fully aware of this, there's a certain line that you have to cross where it's considered or not considered. Since these are just misdemeanors and a very, very low felony, like it might be even to the point in some places that they get kicked out, like, oh, this is not enough to sentence someone. So for example, or bring someone to jail. So for example, in Seattle, right?
Probation, you mean?
Yeah. Put them on probation because it's easier.
Okay.
Because sometimes if the charge is so minor, they're not going to send them to prison, right? So if they're like, okay, like this person's like, they just can put in all into these factors in play to sentencing the judge. So, but that's not a good example in Seattle right now, because Taylor told me, is that for the jail, since the jail's so overcrowded, they're not, if someone gets caught in a DUI or something, they're not gonna bring them in. They're like, okay, just go home. Like, just let them loose. Or like certain drug offenses or anything. They're like, okay, go home. Like, not even book them or whatever, because.
But that's completely different then. Anyways, continue. I understand what you're saying. I'm just curious because I don't know.
Yeah, so they take it just to account the different factors about the person and their lifestyle and all that stuff and what they did to sentence them.
Right.
And so that's why I think he only got the 2 years of probation, because of all that stuff. Money wise, his kid would have been fine if it is his kid, but if the parents are divorced, then like he could have lived with his mom. So that wasn't worried about. Now here's the caveat to all this, okay? And this is one thing that I think, from what I saw in the court case itself, there was no jury or whatever. Because again, it's based on the type of, the level of crimes that were committed, if there's going to be a jury or not. Okay. I feel like for this type of case, there should have been, because her statement about what happened and how she was affected and what she was doing,
Yeah.
He literally is only going to be affected for 2 years of his life. Probation, which we don't even know what his probation restrictions are. They could be as little as go see your probation officer once a month, pass a drug test, do all this stuff, and then you're good. It could be as simple as that, right? And he's only affected for 2 years. After that, he may or may not be registered as a sexual offender, but you don't know because it's 2 years from now. Whereas this girl, she was saying about what happened and how like her life is ruined. She doesn't have a relationship with her aunt anymore. Like she can't date anyone, like nothing. Her life is ruined for at least the foreseeable future. And this guy that she trusted at some point that betrayed her trust is only affected for 2 years.
Yeah, that's the abuse of power. Like that's the whole power dynamic that comes into play, which ultimately goes into the fact that she was a child and how naive you are when you're a child and you're talking to people, one, that you idolize, which I think is completely taken advantage of, and two, when you're a kid, you look to adults as as trustworthy people, whether or not they are or they aren't. It's like that's the first thing you see until they do something. And I just think that that's incredibly upsetting. The fact that this is going to continue to affect how she makes every decision in her life, and he's just getting a slap on the wrist, in my opinion.
Yeah. And what makes it worse is that the judge was saying, I think before he sentenced him, all the stuff you were like, she was a child, she doesn't have the mental maturity, like all this stuff. And then he put the sentences 2 years probation. Like, one article I read said he had 1 year in jail and then 2 years of probation. But then that doesn't make any sense because usually probation is shorter than jail time or prison time. So I don't know which one is true, if it's both or just the one. But yeah, he was saying all this stuff and then he gave him the sentence. I'm like, really? Like, of course, it could be legal. It could be legal reasons again as to why he might not be the only judge sitting on the case. There, instead of a jury, there might be multiple, and that's the decision that they came to. But I think
I had a question. Okay, I remembered my question.
Okay.
I don't know if I said this, but because he pled. Okay, so I watched Law and Order.
Yeah, okay, I know where you're going with this.
Because he pled guilty in the show, which has nothing, has a lot to do with real life, but it doesn't. They say in the show, if you plead guilty, then you'll have, what's the word? You'll have like a
plea deal.
Yes. Does that have anything to do with anything?
So it doesn't say that. So it doesn't say that there was a plea deal in place. However, the fact that a lot of articles are saying that he pleaded guilty, in my mind, what I'm thinking is that there was a plea deal in place to get him that 2 years of probation. So that's a possibility also.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, which is still like, the thing is, okay, so
you know what the dangerous thing is to me, and we can argue his sentencing all we want, but it's like, okay, you do what is given to you. I think whatever, that's something that we're obviously both outraged about, but the fact that after that it's like, well, maybe we'll put you on the registry, maybe not. That's very dangerous to me.
That is dangerous, because if he's not put on it, which is a 50-50 chance that he's not, he can continue to do this to other young females.
What does that say about how we, or the justice system, views these types of cases? Because with any essay cases or things, or special victims cases that are around something like this, there's already so much victim shaming and scared emotions because people don't want to come forward, embarrassment when you're on trial of and going through that again. And it's a very hard these are very hard cases to go through. And I don't know, it's just like, what does that say about how this is viewed? Hey, that's okay, man. You talk to a kid. Hey, that's all right. You do your time, and that's fine. You go out into the world and do it again. We don't care. Like, what is that?
It's
That's very dangerous, I think.
It's very dangerous. It's very messed up for sure. We see it, and I've seen it firsthand, and I never going to go into details about it on any type of camera or whatever. But for example, in the military, it also plays a different dynamic because when someone has a SA case, especially when they're the victim, now, depending on what environment that you're in, people shame them because like, now I have to do your job. Now everything is affected because of you and all these things. And the person's like, I could have changed or done whatever to what happened to me. Yeah. So not only are they might have been victim shamed from like outside of the military, but like in the military itself, some people are just mean and they're like, you messed up our job. Now we got to do all your work, right? You're letting everyone down. You're doing all this stuff. And I feel like this case is going to be really tough for this girl because not only is she talking about her experience with a person for an SA case, it's a celebrity. So how many people is there out there backing him up?
Well, that's the thing. And that's the thing too, when he was going back onto social media and live streaming, everyone's like, we love you. You're great.
Yeah.
And it's like,
it's kind of like the David Dobrik stuff that came out.
Or the James Charles stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what are you allowing?
Yeah.
I think it comes to a point where with people in pop culture and like, when is a time to, okay, this is a time where these people do things that get canceled and then people do really, really bad things like this and everyone still loves them. Yeah. And it's fine because we love them. And it's like, okay, what's the line? I think that's the thing that's frustrating. Not necessarily like as a public society is like, what is the line that you're going to tolerate? What is okay and what's not okay when it comes to celebrity, people in pop culture and people that you idolize, which is frustrating to me. Because it's like, there's, if somebody does something, it's like, if somebody says a comment, like, you know how, like, I don't know, like when Kevin Hart got fired from hosting the Oscars because of tweets, I think it was homophobic tweets that he, I don't know, but inappropriate tweets that he made like 10 years ago, and he got canceled. He got fired from that job, and people were all over that. But then people aren't all over something like this, or something like a David Dobrik, or something.
There's a double standard.
What is that?
It's a double standard.
It's stupid.
It is stupid. It is stupid. That's for sure.
I think. Yeah, and again, it goes back to the behavior like this. You're accepting this and saying that this is okay.
Which is not. It's nowhere should be okay in any.
But I think, pop culture and idolization and fan things is one thing. This is not a time to celebrate yourself.
Monster.
Okay, yeah, Drake Bell is a monster. How fitting. What was I saying? But I think if anything, I think it's more scary for the registry thing. That very much makes me upset.
That is, if he just goes through probation.
Because in hindsight, it doesn't make sense. Because if he is sentenced to something, didn't that so that, and whether he got a plea deal or not, he probably did. That's one thing. But if he got sentenced to something, they find him guilty, then that should automatically mean that he goes on the registry. I don't understand. He's guilty, and you acknowledge that he's guilty. Yeah,
and I feel like the fact that I don't know this, but the misdemeanor part about disseminating harmful information to children, that alone should at least play more in the favor of him getting on the registry, because wherever he can go, whoever he meets that is under 18, he could potentially putting them in danger. So like if he moves to a new neighborhood, he should have to tell like the families that live there, like, hey, like I'm a sexual offender, because that's what they have to do. As soon as they move to a new neighborhood, they have to go door to door and be like, hey, like, I'm a sexual offender, blah, 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 you know?
I hope that he goes on, because that's dangerous.
That is dangerous.
And then if it happens again, shame on everybody, the judge and everybody else was involved in that.
Yeah. One thing I always just want to get into the heads of the defense attorneys. I'm like, this is such a horrible thing for someone to go through, and you're defending that person.
That's what I could never understand about being a defense attorney, especially when it comes to something like this. Again, I watch SVU is my favorite show, but like, I just don't know how you defend this.
I don't know either.
Morally,
I don't know either.
I would be like a prosecute, like a Carisi or a Barba, or you don't know those references, it's fine.
Like, if I was gonna defend anything, I might do like a small claims thing when people are fighting over money, or like
civil stuff.
Yeah, civil stuff.
But yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how. I always think, how?
Or like a defense attorney in a case when the person whose charges are against them, they definitely did not do it. That's a place where I would.
Yeah, that's a place where I find you use your defense attorney.
That's a whole different topic, though. I can get into that more rabbit hole real quick.
Yeah, I know, but
hey, my criminal justice degree actually coming into play.
It's just sad. I mean, we'll talk about this again. I'm sure more information will come out.
I'm sure there will be more info.
You know what though? Good for that young girl, that young lady who was able to testify and
say a statement. And I think it was definitely probably got a lot of weight off her shoulders, and weight off her heart to finally say her story. And now it's out there in the open, and she can like kind of now deal with it and like kind of how to navigate how it's going to play into her life. Like I said, for the foreseeable future, her life is probably ruined. For the foreseeable future, forever, I hope not, you know, but
hopefully she'll go through the right step.
There's a lot of services out there that can help her, like with recovery and stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? This is, to me, I find it very fascinating with all the stuff about like Dan Schneider coming out too, which I think is also goes into our next topic discussion, which is interesting.
Oh boy.
Like the downhill of Nickelodeon stars.
Yeah.
And producers, but I thought that was interesting. I'm curious to know what their relationship is like, the two of them.
Yeah, I was just thinking, since you mentioned it, I'm like, well, I wonder if they were like into the same creepy stuff, because they worked closely together for years.
The same inappropriate stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how to go into the next thing. I guess on a lighter note, but anyway. So once we find out more about that, we'll continue to talk about that. Hopefully we'll get some nice justice there for that young lady. But I'm glad we talked about it. You were texting me. You were angry.
I was angry.
As you should be.
I'm like, he really only got this as a sentence? Like, is this freaking... I'm very passionate about helping SA victims. Like, Kim and I, we've been talking back and forth about what we want to do for the next creative content series or season. And one thing we're both advocating about is mental health, especially after an incident or something people go through. And I'm very passionate about helping people that have been SA victims, you know, because that... Oh my goodness. As soon as someone comes into your field of trust and they break it in such a horrible way, like, you were messed up for such a long, long time. And it doesn't even have to be something major. Not even SA, just like any type of abuse from a partner of some sort, you're messed up for a good chunk of time. Sorry we dampened all your spirits, everybody.
Yeah, but it's important to talk about.
It's important to have these type of open conversations about very serious topics, I think, because it's not like people can just read articles about it and just shove it off. You know, it's better to actually talk to people around you that care about it and like get the word out there and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm spent from my anger from earlier, and now I'm good because we talked about it. So do you have anything to say, Kim?
I have to go in the shower.
Okay, well, you can go do that. You want to close this out?
I will close this out. Okay, well, thank you everybody for listening. Leave your comments about what we talked about today if you want to join the conversation. My social media is right here. Danielle's social media
right there too.
Right there. and we'll link everything. And yeah, okay, bye.
Bye.